most people didn't notice David Carter. To them, he was just the janitor, the man in the faded blue uniform, pushing a mop bucket through the polished marble floors of Willow Creek Academy. The elite private school was home to the children of CEOs, movie stars, and politicians. David was invisible in a place where appearances were everything. But he didn't mind. He had a job, a steady paycheck, and most importantly, he had his 6-year-old son, Ethan, waiting for him at home. Since his wife's passing 2 years ago, David had been doing everything he could to keep their small world intact. Life was simple but hard. He worked before sunrise, cleaned messes others didn't want to see, and returned to a modest apartment where Ethan would run into his arms, eager to share his day. David's life was far from glamorous, but he carried himself with quiet dignity. He believed in hard work, in treating people with kindness, even if they never noticed him. But someone did notice him. Her name was Lily Hastings. Lily wasn't like the other children at Willow Creek Academy. Born with a rare neuromuscular condition, she navigated the world from her wheelchair. Her body was fragile, but her spirit was unbreakable. While other kids were busy in their own cliques, Lily often sat alone during recess, reading or simply watching the world go by. David first noticed her when he saw a book fall from her lap. While dozens of students and even teachers walked past, David immediately knelt down, picked it up, and gently placed it back on her lap. "Thank you, Mr. Janitor," she said with a shy smile. David chuckled, "Just David is fine." From that day, Lily would always wave at him in the hallways. Sometimes she'd offer him a piece of her lunch, much to his amusement. To her, he wasn't a janitor. He was a kind man who saw her, not her wheelchair. But what David didn't know was that someone else was watching these small, seemingly insignificant moments. Lily's mother, Olivia Hastings. Olivia Hastings was a woman carved out of steel and sharp edges. As the CEO of Hastings Global Enterprises, she commanded boardrooms with an iron will, built empires with her vision, and had little patience for small talk. But when it came to her daughter, Olivia was vulnerable. She loved Lily fiercely but struggled with guilt. Her business empire often kept her away, and despite all the resources money could buy, she couldn't shield Lily from the isolation that came with her condition. From her office overlooking the school courtyard, Olivia would sometimes catch glimpses of her daughter. That's where she saw David for the first time, not just as a janitor, but as a man who instinctively showed kindness without seeking recognition. Over the weeks, Olivia began to notice a pattern. David would always pause to help Lily, whether it was adjusting her scarf on windy days or simply chatting with her for a few minutes. He didn't know it, but his small gestures were piercing through the walls Olivia had built around her heart. The annual spring dance was a major event at Willow Creek. Parents arrived in designer suits and gowns, photographers captured every entrance, and the gymnasium transformed into a sparkling ballroom. David had been assigned the usual late shift, to clean up after the festivities. As the dance unfolded, David found himself mopping near the refreshment table, keeping his distance from the crowd of elites. His scuffed shoes and worn uniform didn't belong on that glossy dance floor. That's when he heard a soft voice behind him. "David, will you dance with me?" He turned, surprised. Lily sat in her wheelchair, wearing a light pink dress adorned with tiny pearls. Her eyes sparkled with anticipation. David's heart clenched. "Lily, you sure you want to dance with an old janitor like me?" "I'm not exactly dressed for a ball," he joked. "You're my friend," she replied, "and friends are supposed to dance at dances." For a moment, the noisy room faded away. David crouched down to her level, gently took her hands, and began to sway side to side. It wasn't a traditional dance. But to Lily, it was perfect. From across the hall, Olivia stood on the balcony, watching in silence. Her eyes, usually sharp and calculating, filled with tears. As David and Lily danced, whispers rippled through the crowd. "Isn't that the janitor? What's he doing on the dance floor?" But then the murmuring stopped. Olivia descended the grand staircase, her presence demanding attention. The room fell silent, all eyes watching her approach the unlikely pair on the dance floor. David stood up, flustered, ready to apologize. "I'm sorry, Miss Hastings. I didn't mean to." But Olivia held up her hand, silencing him. "May I join this dance?" she asked, extending her hand. David was stunned. He awkwardly nodded, unsure if this was real. For the next few minutes, the three of them, Olivia, Lily, and David, danced together. It was an imperfect, awkward little dance, but it was beautiful. The billionaire mother, the janitor father, and the little girl in a wheelchair shared a moment that transcended status, wealth, and appearances. In that moment, the entire room was forced to confront something they had forgotten: humanity. After the dance, while David was packing up his mop and bucket, Olivia approached him backstage. "I owe you a thank you," she said softly. David, uncomfortable with praise, smiled politely. "Just doing my job, ma'am." "No, David. You've been doing far more than your job. You've been a friend to my daughter when no one else dared to see her for who she truly is." David looked down, unsure how to respond. Olivia continued, "At Hastings Global, we talk about corporate social responsibility. We throw around buzzwords like community and empathy. But you live it. I need someone like you to teach my people what real compassion looks like." David was puzzled. "Ma'am, I'm not sure what you're suggesting." "I'm offering you a position at Hastings Global. Community Relations Manager. Full benefits. A salary that ensures you'll never worry about Ethan's future." David was speechless. His hands, rough from years of manual labor, trembled slightly. "I don't even own a suit, ma'am." "I'll handle the suit," Olivia smiled. "You handle the heart." 1 year later, David Carter stood on the stage of the Hastings Global Charity Gala. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, though his humble posture hadn't changed. He was now the head of community outreach, spearheading programs for underprivileged families, inclusive education, and support for children with disabilities. In the front row, Ethan sat proudly beside Lily, who cheered the loudest when David spoke. Olivia watched them both, no longer from a distance, but as part of their extended family. David's closing words that night echoed through the grand hall. "Kindness is never wasted. You may not see its impact immediately, but it always finds a way back. Sometimes, when you're just mopping a floor, you might end up changing a life. Or, if you're lucky, a life might end up changing yours." The audience gave a standing ovation, not for a corporate speech, but for a man who reminded them of a truth too often forgotten. As the evening came to a close, Lily wheeled herself to David and said with a grin, "It's time for our dance, Mr. Manager." David laughed, "It's still just David, kiddo." Under the glow of chandeliers, they danced again. This time, without judgmental whispers, only admiration. Olivia joined them, not as a CEO, but as a mother grateful for a janitor who dared to dance. Sometimes, the smallest acts of kindness, done by the most unlikely people, can break the walls of privilege, loneliness, and indifference. Kindness doesn't need an audience. But when it finds one, it has the power to inspire the world.